Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to the first in a series of programs entitled Faith Matters. In this series we will be discussing a number of current and topical issues concerning Islam, the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Islamic teachings as expounded by Jamaat Ahmadiyah through its founder Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam of Qadian. It is apt that as we enter into the first few days of the blessed month of Ramadan, this program should start with a discussion about the importance of blessings of the month of fasting. With me today, I'm honoured to have Imam Atal Majid Rashid Sahib, Imam of the London Mosque and Missionary in Charge, United Kingdom, Maulana Naseem Ahmed Bajwa Sahib, Imam of the Betul Futuh Mosque, and Dr. Zahid Ahmed Khan Sahib, President of the Qaza Board, United Kingdom. Imam Sahib, I'd like to begin by, if you would, starting with the significance and importance of this most blessed month for the Muslim world.
Well, it's very important to first mention about the importance of the month of Ramadan. I begin by saying that Allah Almighty in the Holy Quran has specifically mentioned about the fasting and the blessing of the month of Ramadan, and very important basic rules related with this practice. And this month of Ramadan taken together is like the spring season among the seasons, and that is the best part of the year perhaps, because that shows the beginning of the life and greenery everywhere. And in the field of religion, the month of Ramadan can be taken and described just like the spring of spirituality. And when this month starts, even before it starts actually, people start thinking about it. And they are anxiously waiting for the start of this Ramadan, because it brings a lot of blessings. And so many bounties of Allah Almighty's, they are associated with this holy month of Ramadan, that young and old, everybody is waiting for that.
And in fact, Imam Sahib, such is the anticipation that people often are praying that they can obtain maximum benefit from the blessed month.
Of course, everybody is looking for that. So this is really the thing, that this is a month in which the spiritual exercise and activities, they are increased, and as a result of that, the people are given the golden opportunity of getting closer to their Maker, Allah the Almighty.
If I may add something, the word Ramadan means two heats. Two rams. Rams mean heat. So there are, in the month of Ramadan, two main benefits. One is that we establish our relationship with Allah the Almighty, and also we establish our relationship, good relationship with the human beings. And in fact, this is the purpose of Ramadan, that in this month we should make sure that we are doing such action by which we can come closer to Allah the Almighty, by fasting, by reading the Holy Quran, and various other things which we are supposed to do, and remembering Allah more than other days. And then at the same time, we should spend as much as possible in the way of Allah for the benefit of mankind, so that the suffering of the human beings are alleviated. So these are two benefits connected with Ramadan.
I think for me the significance and importance of the month of Ramadan and fasting is brought home by a saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, all deeds of man are for himself, but fasting is for my sake, and man does it for my sake, and I am the reward for that. And that truly brings home the point that we carry on all the commands of Allah, and Allah says that they are for man himself. But He has singled out fasting, and fasting in the month of Ramadan, that this is done purely for Allah's sake, and the reward He has promised us is there to be seen.
It's the most poignant summary of this blessed month.
There are so many sayings of the Holy Prophet ﷺ about the month of Ramadan that after listening to one, you are reminded of another one. I can just mention one more saying. The Holy Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that there is always a specific door for everything, and the door of worship is the fasting. So that speaks volumes about the significance of the month of Ramadan.
Another thing which it has reminded me as well, that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Man kama Ramazana imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi. That he who observed the fast with faith, true faith, and also for having the reward from Allah the Almighty. Whoever does that, he will have his all sins forgiven. So this is the month in which by the grace of Allah we can have all our sins forgiven. So what can we expect more than that?
I think the opportunities are there, because following on from another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that when Ramadan comes, the gates of paradise are flung open and the gates of hell are locked shut and the Satan is locked up. And for me this is an opportunity to say, yes, the opportunities to do good far exceed the opportunities to do evil inclinations, because the opportunities are there, and the atmosphere in the home and the mosque and society in general tend to take us towards doing good, and this is a time we must all take full benefit of and full advantage of.
And obviously this month is very eagerly awaited by all, and one of the main signs for its coming is to identify when the start of the month is. Often this leads to great discussion amongst different Muslim groups. Perhaps we could discuss what Islam says about the start of the month and how we have come to a position where different groups have come to different opinions on this.
Well, I think it's, as you have rightly mentioned, that this really becomes a very controversial subject between various groups in Islam. Some people, they say that we have to physically see it before we start the Ramzan. And there is another point of view that scientific information should be utilized, because Islam speaks that people should ponder over the creation of the universe and get the benefit out of that. So the scientific information is for the benefit of mankind. So it is said that people should benefit from this information, and if scientifically the visibility, the sighting of the moon is quite possible according to certain values which are determined by those who are experts, then we should take it as we have sighted the new moon. So there are three basic things which have to be taken into account, if I may mention. The first one is that there is a point which is called the scientific birth of the moon. That is the starting point from where the age of the moon is determined. From that 0 point, it is said that the age of the moon should be at least 20 hours, or even much more than that, before there could be a possibility of its sighting. Before that, even the possibility is not there. Then the second criterion is the degree of elongation. That must be more than 10 before the sighting could be possible. But that is still, the possibility is there, including the human factors, whether the sky is clear, when the person who is seeing, he is looking in the right angle or not. So considering all these points, it is again a matter of certain doubt whether exactly the person will be able to see that or not. And the third point to be noted is that the moon set must be after the sunset. It should not be before that, because if the moon goes down before the sunset, obviously it cannot be seen. So these are generally the 3 points which are considered before we in Ahmadiyya Jamaat we decide that the sighting should be finalized, and people can say, and we can make a decision whether on that particular day the sighting is possible. And we have seen through our experience that by the grace of Allah, following these principles which have got the full support of the scientific experts, that has always led the community by the grace of Allah to come to the right decisions.
Imam Sahib just explained in some detail how one identifies the start of the new moon and how the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat goes about its processes of identifying it. And yet, despite what seems like quite a scientific process, there are many across the world who, for example, if they were living in the United States or in Europe, would demand that it is only when they see the new moon in Saudi Arabia or other Muslim countries that at that point does the blessed month start. So can you perhaps give some insight into how these derivations have come about?
Yes, you see, I came in this country in 1975, and since then I have seen so many changes in this country particularly. In the beginning, most of the people used to say, I'm non-Ahmadi Muslim I'm talking about, that it is haram to use scientific methods. So they are only saying that we should just use our own eyes, or at the most, they said we should just follow Saudi Arabia or Pakistan, or some said Iraq even, There are some mosques which were being supported by Iraq. Some following Turkey as well, some Turkish people living here. But the thing is that as far as the Holy Prophet ﷺ is concerned, he has very clearly said, Sumu liroyatihi, that you should start observing fast after you have seen the moon. And this seeing is, with naked eye, basically. So nowadays we have this facility that observatory department can very easily tell you that when you will be able to see the moon with your naked eye and when you can only see with some instruments. So now this year, for example, they gave us information, and it is written, anybody can take that information.
This is the Greenwich Observatory.
They said that they said that it is not possible to see the moon on Friday, for example, with naked eye. The first day when you can see the moon with naked eye, that is Saturday. So this is why the Ahmadiyya Jamaat decided that we should start our fasting on Sunday. But at the same time, I would like to mention that after getting all the information, ultimately somebody has to decide what to do and what is not to be done. And we, by the grace of Allah, have this privilege that we have Khilafat. And all the information are presented before Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Aziz, and he is the one to make the final decision, and all Ahmadis, by the grace of Allah, they accept it. This is how the unity is also preserved in the Ahmadiyya community.
Well, this question that, as some people we have mentioned, that they say that we should follow what Saudi Arabia decides. Well, the thing is that Islam is for the whole world. It's not for one area or for one region. And basically, the teaching of Islam is to be decided according to the local values and conditions. Regarding the sighting of the moon, there is in the famous book of Hadith, Muslim Sharif, which is only next to the Bukhari, and there is a special chapter made there with the title لِكُلِّ أَهْلِ بَلَدٍ رُؤْيَتُهُمْ, that for each people of one horizon, their own sighting is there. So it means the sighting could be possible in some other regions, in some horizons, in some other areas, some continents may be far away, but that will not be valid for other people. So all the region, the local region, they should go for the sighting or the possibility of the sighting according to them and not follow the others. I mean, it's very simple. If one country takes Saudi Arabia, with all the respect that Saudi Arabia happens to be the center of Islam, where the Holy Prophet ﷺ, our beloved Master, was born. He lived there, he spent his whole life there, and he is buried there. And the whole religion of Islam started from there. We have got all the love and respect and affection for that country, no doubt. But the point is that do we, in our daily life, say in the 5 daily prayers, do we follow the timing of the sunrise for the Fajr prayer and sunset for the Maghrib prayer in Saudi Arabia? Nobody would do that. The people in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, they always go by the timing of the local area where they live. So similarly, not only in the sun, in case of moon, when the sighting comes, it has to be taken locally. And in one region, one sighting should be followed. And so for this question, which is generally raised, that in that case, look, people will be starting Ramadan in various parts of the world in different days, then what's the harm in it? That concept is totally not against Islam. It is quite possible that people in Australia, in Singapore, in the Middle East, in Asia, in Japan, in South Africa, they might be starting on different days, 1, 2, or 3 days, as the case may be. Because Islam is global religion, so if the difference is there because of their local conditions, then no harm in different decisions. And there is no such teaching that Muslims all over the world must start Ramadan and celebrate Eid on one day. If the prayers can be offered at different times, then why can't Ramadan start in different days?
Dr. Saab, did you have an insight on this?
Yeah, as a global phenomenon, Ramadan cannot start on the same day. It's plainly obvious because the earth is not flat, it is round, and the horizons have to be different in different parts of the world. However, along the same longitudes, it can occur at the same time. but as Imam Sahib has explained, the conditions for the new moon have to be there, the elongation and the age of the moon. And one thing that scientists also talk about is the movement of the moon away from the sun, and a minimum of 7 degrees has to occur before the moon will be visible from the earth with the naked eye. It's interesting because I think one of the things that has confused the issue is, as Imam Sahib said, is the birth of the moon. When the birth of the moon occurs, which is a phenomenon that is well recognized by scientists, the moon is completely dark at that stage. NASA scientists, in fact, took photographs 100 miles above the surface of the earth, and there was no image on those photographs because the moon did not have enough body to reflect any of the sun at that stage. And it's only after it has passed 7 degrees beyond the sun that the images can be captured. So it is again obvious that something that does not reflect these rays of the sun cannot be visible on the earth. And secondly, talking about whether technological advances can be used, we use watches to determine when the sehri is, when the iftar is, when the timing is. We don't go out and see whether the dawn has occurred or not. So everybody uses these, the whole Muslim world uses timings, and therefore the use of this technology is also something that is to the benefit of Muslims and not to their detriment.
At this point that you have mentioned about the scientific birth of the moon, I think it's very, very important, because generally people, they go to the observatory without knowing the technicalities, and they ask, when is the new moon there?
Right. That's right.
So the observatory people, they always tell them when is the scientific birth of the moon. And that is naturally different, maybe difference of 1 day or 2 days maybe. Because in Islam, the crux of the matter is not the scientific birth of the moon, rather it is the visibility of the moon.
That's right.
So there is a big difference between the two, and that has to be understood. The whole emphasis is on the visibility of the moon, not on the scientific birth of the moon.
And nowadays they provide you both dates. Yes. I have seen myself this year.
Yes.
They have given one date when you can see only through scientific methods, and there is another day when you can see with naked eye. So they provide you the information.
So it's a case of really knowing how to use the technology as well as having the technology.
Yes. That's right.
And moreover, one simple guidance given in the Holy Quran by the Holy Prophet ﷺ is that you try to see the new moon, and if you don't see it on one day, one evening, then you try to complete the month. And when there are 30 days of the month, naturally it cannot be 31. In Islam, the month is either 29 days or 30 days. It can't be of 28 or 31 days. So the guidance by the Holy Prophet ﷺ is that if the counting comes to 30, then automatically the new month has to begin. It was very strange. I was looking at the local newspaper here, that first they went up to 29th of Shaban. And there was 1 day there, which they should have gone, because if they have not seen the moon, and nobody has seen actually. I haven't come across any news, anybody mentioning that I have actually seen the new moon. But on some reports they have decided. So next day they skipped. While according to this guidance of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they should have gone for the 30th of Shaban, and then the next day should be the 1st of Ramadan.
Jazakallah. Coming back again to the actual month of Ramadan itself, as the month starts, millions, if not billions, of Muslims around the world engage in prayer, but they also engage in a study and the recitation and the careful reflection on the Holy Quran. Baja Sahib, there's obviously a very close relationship and significance of the Holy Quran to the month of Ramadan. Perhaps you could give a bit of explanation and background as to how that significance and relationship arises.
Yes, this is a very important subject, because the Holy Quran itself has explained this subject. For example, it said, Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. The month of Ramadan is that month in which the Holy Quran was revealed. Now, there is some explanation required on this subject. Apparently, it seems as if the whole Quran was revealed in 1 month, but this is not the case. Everybody knows that the Holy Quran was read in piecemeal in 23 years. So the question arises, what does it mean then? So there are two meanings. One meaning is that the revelation of the Quran began in the month of Ramadan. And according to history, we understand that it was 24th of Ramadan when the revelation of the Quran started. The second thing is that, as the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said, and we learn from the books of Hadith, that Jibreel alayhi salam used to repeat the whole Quran with Rasulullah alayhi salam every year, whatever was revealed. And during the last month of Ramadan, twice the whole of the Holy Quran was repeated with the Holy Prophet ﷺ by Jibreel alayhi salam. So in that way, we can say the whole Quran was also revealed in the month of Ramadan. So this is one side of this subject. The other thing is that after all, the teaching of Islam is based on the Holy Quran, and Holy Quran is the perfect book of Allah, and this is the last word of Allah as far as the Sharia is concerned, and this word can never be changed. Allah has said, "Nahnu nazzalna zikra wa inna lahu lahafizun." We have revealed this Quran, this zikr, and we will safeguard it. And for the last 1400 years, by the grace of Allah, we can see this book is preserved by Allah the Almighty. And the word Quran itself has a prophecy in it. Quran means a book which is oft repeatedly read, so very frequently read. And you can see that by the grace of Allah, how many people have memorized the whole of the Quran. And in the month of Ramadan, particularly, again, we see this sign that millions of people are listening to the Holy Quran, and they are reading the Holy Quran day in and day out. And at the same time, you see the Holy Quran, Holy Prophet ﷺ said, when a person reads even one letter of the Quran, then he gets 10, sawab or rewards, and also 10 of his sins are also forgiven. So what we can, expect more than that. So this is a month in which we should read more Quran, and we should try to act upon it, because only reading is not enough if we don't act upon it.
As Badusa was just mentioned regarding the Quran, that's very important. This name was given at a time when the revelation began. And at that time there was no book, there was no question of its reading so often. But by way of prophecy, Allah Almighty gave the name to the whole revelation as Quran. And that rightly means, as it has been explained, most widely read book. And this is something which has been admitted in British Encyclopedia. It has described the Holy Quran as the most widely read book in the world. Although the number of copies might be for some other books to be printed, but so far as it is used, and particularly as we are talking about Ramadan, during the month of Ramadan, I think the book which is read day and night by the Muslims all over the globe, right and left, everywhere, that is this Holy Quran. In every house, every day, all members of the family, generally they recite. Every faithful Muslim should do like that. And this is so beautifully seen in our history of the community. In Qadian, in Rabwa, in other places, everywhere, we see that recitation is done very regularly. People try to recite at least once fully the Holy Quran, if possible twice or 3 times. Then during the day, Taraweeh has been mentioned, that is one thing. Apart from that, another very blessed institution in our Jamaat is of the Darsul Quran sessions. In those sessions as well in the mosque, one full complete reading of the Holy Quran is done, not only the reading, but also the translation and the commentaries. So in this way, the Holy Quran is something which becomes so close to the believers in this month of Ramadan, and the believers become so close to the Holy Quran as if that is the only book they are reading, and that is practically the way it lives. So that's a very close connection of Ramadan and the Holy Quran.
Absolutely. Dr. Saab, obviously the recitation is there as well in Darsul Quran, but there is a deep personal study also that each Muslim, and it's particularly encouraged in the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, for each of us to study and to ponder upon the words of the Holy Quran in some depth.
Absolutely. I mean, from a very young age, in every Ahmadi household, great emphasis is laid on the very young child to learn to read the Holy Quran, and we put great emphasis on this aspect. And throughout the life of that child, and as he grows, the importance of studying of the true meaning, the commentary of the Holy Quran is there to be seen. And as Imam Sahib has said, that during the month of Ramadan we relive the Holy Prophet ﷺ's tradition, in that the Holy Quran was revised to him by Hazrat Jibreel, and we also undertake a great study of that and make sure that we are spending great time in understanding the greater depths of the last revealed book and the most perfect book of Allah, the book that has been sent down to our Holy Master, the Holy Prophet ﷺ.
So the point that you have raised, that is really very important, that we do mention about the Holy Quran, and generally in the Muslim Ummah, Muslims all over the world, they talk about the Holy Quran. In the Taraweeh as well, they very quickly, they go over the whole one part of the Ramzan, the Holy Quran very quickly within a short time. But the real essence, the real meaning of the study of the Holy Quran is that people should think and ponder over its meaning. That is a point which should be emphasized by the Muslims. Otherwise, simply turning the pages and finishing it within a matter of few minutes, that is not something which is going to give them any benefit at all. Otherwise, it will become a ceremonial thing. And Islam actually does not believe in this sort of ceremonies. The deeper meanings, the in-depth knowledge of the Holy Quran, and one should really put one's heart and soul into the Holy Quran to get the benefit, because the Holy Quran is full of blessings, but it is given to those who dive deep into the deeper meanings of the Holy Quran.
Yes, the Prophet Messiah ﷺ has written extensively, and his writings are obviously commentaries of the Holy Quran. And Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ has said that the Quran is a treasure trove, and only by delving deep into it can you really get the treasure that will lay you in good stead for your life.
In another place, Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ has said, "Jo log Quran ko izzat denge, wo asman par izzat payenge." Those who will honor the Holy Quran shall have the honor in heaven. So, in fact, when a person becomes Ahmadi, he accepts 10 conditions of Bai'at. And one of the conditions of Bai'at is that I will follow the teaching of Islam, I will follow whatever is said in the Holy Quran, and I will make my whole life in accordance with the teaching of the Holy Quran and practice of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So unless a person accepts this condition, he can't be Ahmadi. So this is why we see that the companion of Hazrat Masih Maud Islam, they had great love for the Holy Quran. And even now you see those people who become Ahmadi, they also read the Holy Quran with great love. I just give you one example. The other day, I asked our regional Amir in the northeast, Mr. Bilal Atkinson, who is the English gentleman who became Ahmadi Muslim about 14, 15 years ago. And I asked him, how frequently do you read the Holy Quran? He said, in the month of Ramadan, I read the whole Quran along with its translation and full commentary as well. Every Ramadan. I was surprised. And now recently one Polish gentleman became Ahmadi in Bradford. I asked him, I said, you became Ahmadi only 8 months ago, and I gave you a copy of the Holy Quran with short commentary. How far you have read? He said, Alhamdulillah, I finished it. In 8 months' time, he finished it.
It's impressive the dedication, mashallah, that so many Muslims around the world show to the most blessed and honoured words of the Holy Quran. Viewers, you're hearing today some very interesting insights. If you would yourselves like to participate in the show in future programs, we do have a facility if you'd like to write to us or fax us with any questions you might have. The email address to which to email your questions to is faithmatters@mta.tv. And if you'd prefer to fax, the international number is +44 208 687 8037. Returning, Dr. Saab, to the topic of Ramzan, there are many in the West who, looking from the outside in, when commenting on this month of fasting, perhaps don't fully appreciate the spiritual endeavor that it involves, but more focus on the fact that it appears to be a month of extreme physical exertion and harshness on Muslims. Could you perhaps give some insight into the wisdom and rationale of fasting in this blessed month?
Yes, the people from the outside must certainly see it as something which is harsh, but that I think is a relative term, because we who actually experience it realize that it is not a harsh activity. And practically this is something that in our families we also see that this is something that is easily possible. The thing is that in the West especially, we have become accustomed to a very easy lifestyle in any case. And as far as food and drink are concerned, that is freely available 24 hours of the day, and people often take to it also on those times as well. However, fasting is only for a small number of hours during the day. The summer months here in England at the moment may be slightly longer, but that is not to say that we are going to starve if we don't eat or drink for that length of time. But at the same time, there is great benefit in putting yourself under some hardship. In the West, they also say no pain, no gain. And this certainly is true for physical activities as well. If you are an athlete and you want to train yourself, then you have to put yourself under some physical pressure. And this is also the case with spirituality as well, that if you would like to gain spiritual beneficence from an activity, then you have to undergo some form of hardship as well. And this is a relative term for us, and we find that when we fast, because we are more aware of the spiritual benefits of fasting, then it becomes second nature to us to be able to go without food and drink for a small number of hours. But what they don't realize is that it is not the going without food or drink which is of importance. It is all that is related to it. And when they come to realize that yes, it does make you a better person to work with or to live with or to interact with, because that is what the fasting also teaches us, is that there is no foul language, you don't pick any quarrels, you don't pick any arguments, and this is the important aspects of it as well. So as a physical exercise, there is some hardship, but it is a relative term, and if there is that hardship, then it does medically also benefit you, because this is something that has been proven that it is of beneficence to you. So in that respect, I don't feel, I'm biased anyway, but those around me at work also, I mean, they have become accustomed to this, that they don't feel that it is such a hardship that I'm putting myself under.
As Sahib has mentioned, there are only a few hours, you say that there are only few hours of the fasting time. It's not only the few hours of the fasting time, but also the few days.
Right, yes.
Because the Holy Quran has also mentioned before, where the subject of Ramadan has been mentioned, and this thing has been mentioned, that this practice has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for the people before you. That is one thing, that Islam is not the first religion to introduce this practice of fast. It was introduced in previous religions in some form or the other. Islam has made it more elaborate, more precise and more defined type of practice. But one thing Allah Almighty mentioned there is, in the very beginning it says, Ayyam Madudat, that only few days are there. Don't be afraid. As generally people get afraid of it, that oh, the month of Ramadan is coming, we will have to abstain from food and this and that. It will be too harsh. It's not like that. Allah Almighty gives them this consolation in the very beginning, Ayyam Madudat. And secondly, if we look at those people upon whom it is made compulsory and obligatory, Islam has given all the possible relaxations. It's a long subject. To begin with, very small minor children, they are not supposed to observe the fast. I mean, it's, I think, cruelty on the part of some people who force their young children, even not giving them a glass of water to drink, and they say every small child, they must keep fast. This is not the spirit of Islam. Islam is one thing, it says la ikraha fid din, no compulsion in matters of religion. Then the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said, yassiru wala tussiru, make the religion easy and not difficult for people. And ad-dinu yusrun, he has also mentioned, the religion is all about the convenience of the people. So small children are exempt from there. Then the children should be given a taste of going through the experience of fast when they gradually come to the age of maturity. And that's generally, it is mentioned, no hard and fast limit is there, but around 13, 14 years they can just observe fast for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 days. Then from 15 to 18, that is the period in which they should gradually try to come in. But again, I must say that there is no hard and fast limit as such. It depends on the growth of the people, on the climate and situation. But gradually they have to. But once they are grown up, then of course Allah Almighty says they have to be regular, and they have to be regular in that. But still there are some exceptions. Some people who are sick, the people on journey, they are exempt When these two conditions are there, they are allowed not to observe the fast at that time, but that compensation will be made when this condition is over. The ladies who are expecting, the ladies who are breastfeeding the children, of course they are exempt from there.
Yeah. So you mentioned about those who are on a journey. Often there is discussion as to what counts as a journey or what entails travelling. Could you perhaps give an insight into what the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat's perspective is on this?
Well, there is generally, people sometimes talk about the distance and sometimes the period for which the person is out on a journey, how much distance is covered, how many days the person is out, 14, 15 days, they are mentioned there. But that is, of course, no doubt, we believe in all these principles in a general way. But one thing which makes the whole thing clear, because today's time is very much different from the past, when people have to go on foot and there was no proper means of communication. Now better facilities are there, it's not that much difficult. So actually, the real feeling of the journey, if that is there, that should be counted as a journey. The people, if they travel for long distance as a matter of routine, as a part of their duty every day, like the train drivers, the bus drivers, the pilots, for them, even if they travel long distance, it's not a journey, because it's a part of their duty. And other people, if they go out of their homes with little bit of preparation, and they say that, well, I'm going on a journey up to a certain place, that feeling, if they have, that should really be counted as the journey. Minor details, technical details are also there, but this is the crux of the matter, that when some people makes up his baggage, gets ready and goes out, make the preparation, leaves something behind for the people at home, and then he says, I'm going on a journey. That is a journey, and as long as he's on a journey, he would be naturally exempt from that one.
If I may add into this subject, that there are some people who are on journey every day because their work, the nature of their work is like that, like train drivers and so many other people, coach drivers. Now these people, during the month of fasting, they can fast because that is their regular activity, and there is no restriction on them that they should not fast. Similarly, you see, when a person leaves his home after fasting, and then if he returns back before the sunset, so before the time of the ending of the fast, he can fast. There is no restriction on him. So that means that during the fast he can make journey. It's not at all against the teaching of Islam. But if he is fasting now and then he will open the fast somewhere else, then it is not allowed. Because then the Holy Quran says that if you are on journey, you should not fast. You see, the person who will not fast while he is on journey, for example, or he is sick, he will have two rewards. One is that he is obeying Allah's commandment when he is not fasting. But then later on, when he will be fasting, then he will have another reward from Allah the Almighty. So nobody should feel that if he is not fasting because of his journey, he is missing something. The other thing is that those people who are living for more than 15 days somewhere, then they will not be considered as on journey, as they will be considered as they can fast, and they are like other people who are staying in their own homes.
Exactly. Dr. Saab, just picking up on something that Imam Saab mentioned about those who are sick or unwell are not required to fast. Often you have people, for example, diabetics who might say, well, it's just an ailment that I have to live with, and am I still permitted to fast, or should I be fasting? Obviously these issues sometimes arise. Is there a hard and fast rule in this regard?
Not in that case. I mean, in every medical condition, obviously one is more aware of their own condition rather than somebody else who is advising them, apart from maybe their medical practitioner. So there are many ailments whereby the person who may be sick is well aware of his own condition and knows whether he is able to fast or not, or whether he has medication that he can adjust around the times of the fast so that he can still continue to fast. But the best policy for that person is that they must seek advice from their regular medical practitioner to make sure that they are not going to injure themselves in that way health-wise, so that they are able to fast. For instance, diabetes is a very common ailment, especially amongst Asians in the United Kingdom, and there are many different levels and types of diabetes. And there are some that are controlled by diet alone, there are some that are controlled by oral medication, some by insulin. So maybe in the categories that are controlled by diet alone, then they are able to control their diet, in fact, in a better way while they are fasting, that they take the sahri, and then at the time of iftar they can eat regularly again. But everybody knows his own body well, and they must obviously take that into consideration. If they feel that they are not able to fast because of their medical condition, they feel weak, they may become hypoglycemic during the day, then obviously then they should take use of the facility that Allah has provided for them, and therefore they should not fast. So no hard and fast rule. Everybody knows his own self better than anybody else, and they must decide for themselves in that respect.
I think what Dr. Saab has just mentioned may not be taken by some people that, well, we know our condition better, therefore we have to decide. So because in many cases I think you may come across certain people who may say that, well, I'm fit for fasting, otherwise he's carrying a load of medication to be taken at a regular interval throughout the day. So they are skipping their medication in order to put all the hardship upon them, so that somehow they may be able to observe fast. That is against the spirit of Islam. So as it has already been mentioned in the program, that it's not by force that we can please Allah Almighty. By coercion, we can say that, well, I must fast, that is the only way of pleasing Allah Almighty. Actually, it is the pleasure of Allah Almighty, whether by fasting or by making use of the provision given by Allah Almighty. If Allah Almighty, who knows everything and who knew everything, if He has mentioned in the Holy Quran that the people who are sick, they are, for that period, they are exempt from it. So Allah Almighty knows that there could be certain conditions where it may be too much for the people to go through the practice of fast. So therefore, the best advice I would generally like to give is that in case of sickness, instead of becoming your own physician, which could be a dangerous thing in many cases, the best course is people should go to the doctor and present himself and the case with the symptoms and what he feels honestly to the doctor and get the advice from doctor. There may be certain situations, in case of one person, doctor may say that, yes, it is right for you to observe fast. For the other person, he may not be, because it depends on the condition. And the decision can be taken best by the doctor, not by the person who is suffering from that ailment.
In this regard, the Holy Quran has also said, Yuridullahu bikumul yusra wa la yuridu bikumul usra. Allah desires ease for you, not hardship.
Just to remind viewers, if you would like to participate in future programs, we are open to your questions. You can email your questions to us at faithmatters@mta.tv, or if you prefer, you can fax us, and the fax number is the international dial +44 208 687 8037. Imam Sahib, returning to the topic of Ramzan and how to maximize benefits from this blessed month, one topic that is often discussed amongst Muslims is that, and perhaps there is a perception that Ramzan or the daily fast is not complete if one does not offer Tarawih prayer. And yet at the same time there are large Muslims who maybe do not offer Tarawih prayer but focus more on the Tahajjud prayer in the morning. Could you perhaps explain what the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat viewpoint is on this subject?
Well, the thing is that we should take according to the fixed priorities by the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So far as comparing Tahajjud and Tarawih together is, one thing is definite, that the Tarawih prayer is in no way a substitute for Tahajjud prayer. The real prayer which the Holy Prophet ﷺ followed throughout his lifetime and which has been mentioned in the Holy Quran specifically, that is the Tahajjud prayer. And this was the prayer which the Holy Prophet ﷺ was very particular, and regularly throughout his lifetime he observed that. And according to the established reliable traditions, every day he used to get up early in the morning and offer 8 rakats of Tahajjud prayer in parts of 2, groups of 2, 2 plus 2, then 2 plus 2 like this, 8, and followed by 3 rakats of fitr. This was his normal routine, established routine, which has been mentioned by Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha and also by other wives. So this is the most important thing, and that carries the maximum reward and benefit according to the Holy Quran and according to the Hadith that is there. Now Tarawih prayer is something which was initially, it is mentioned, it is there in Hadith, that it was started in a way that the Holy Prophet ﷺ came, and the Sahaba was also there, so he led the prayer during the Ramzan. So after conducting it one day, next day the more people came. The third day the mosque was full and it was overflowing there. So when he felt this, then he discontinued that one. So he did not continue with this Tarawih prayer at all like this. Later on, during the period of Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who was a Khalifa of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he thought that while the people are offering the prayer separately here and there, alone, singly in the mosque, why not they should get together and offer, and somebody should recite the whole Quran before them. So that is how it started. So it is a tradition of the Khalifa of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. As such, it says, carries all the respect and honor. But it should not be taken in this way, as sometime wrongly it is taken, that people become too much particular about the Tarawih prayer. So much so that some of them, they believe that if we don't offer the Tarawih prayer, our fast is incomplete. That is totally wrong. That is not the way. It is actually meant for those people who can, on top of the Tahajjud prayer, also would like to join the Tarawih prayer, an additional prayer, additional Nafil prayer, and have the benefit of somebody reciting the whole Quran, 1/30th of the Quran in one night, because listening of the Holy Quran is also a sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. It was revealed upon him, but he occasionally used to ask his companion, please recite something to me. To listening the Holy Quran by a Qari, by a Hafiz in a melodious voice is also a great enjoyment and benefit as well, because those who know the meaning, they can also follow the subject mentioned therein. So it is very good for people to join, but not at the cost of missing the Tahajjud prayer. If they are very sure that they are going to observe the Tahajjud prayer, well and good, then of course they should be most welcome and they can do it. So this is the comparison we have to very clear. I mean, it is good thing, but not it should be done in that way that without that the fast is not complete, and moreover we should just do that one and forget the Tahajjud, which is much more important than that.
Yes, also you said that what is the practice of the Ahmadiyya Jamaat in this regard, how we see all these things. So I would like to say that Ahmadiyyat is nothing but true Islam. And as the Holy Quran says, in kuntum tuhibbuna Allah fattabi'uni, that if you love Allah, then you should follow the example of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So whatever we do, always see the sunnah of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in this regard, as Imam Sahib explained, that what was the practice of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Throughout his life, he was offering Tahajjud prayer. And as far as the Tarawihs are concerned, they were started in the time of Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala, as we are doing in these days. So we do not undermine the importance of Tarawih, because that also has some benefit there. Because after all, people are listening to the Holy Quran. This is a very good opportunity which is provided. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ also said, Alaikum bi sunnati wa sunnatul khulafa'i ar-rashidin al-mahdiyyin. It is incumbent upon you to follow my sunnah and the sunnah of my khulafa, upright successors. So because Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu ta'ala is also a upright successor, and he started a good practice in Islam, and in fact it has encouraged people to memorize the Holy Quran so that they can lead in the Tarawih prayer. Then it has provided the opportunity for millions of people to listen to the Holy Quran. So we should take benefit from both of them. Try, if possible, we should attend the Tarawih prayer, and also we should offer Tahajjud prayer, but not at the cost of Tahajjud prayer. Tahajjud prayer is first, because that was done by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa throughout his life.
Can I bring in one question which somebody asked me the other day? He asked that, when somebody is leading the Tarawih prayer, Hafiz is there who has memorized the whole Quran, but sometime it may happen that he may forget somewhere. So is it permissible that somebody behind him should have a copy of the Holy Quran in his hand, and just as one of the followers he should stand behind the Imam, and if the Hafiz, the Imam, forgets that, then he can make use of that and tell that. This practice is not correct, because this is not in line with the real spirit which Allah Almighty has mentioned in the Holy Quran. As Bajo Sahib has just mentioned, Ahmadiyya Jamaat, we always follow what is actually given to us by way of guidance in the Holy Quran, or it has been explained to us by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the sources of guidance for us. So therefore, the Holy Quran says in one place, فَقْرَوْا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ, that whatever easily you can recite from the Holy Quran, you recite that. So if the Hafiz can recite very well, well and good, he should be requested to lead the prayer. But if he cannot or he forgets, then it is it. But for somebody else to stand behind with a copy of the Holy Quran in the hand, that is like, as we say, takalluf. It is going all the way. The person would be just going through these verses and taking care of the thing that he is not making a mistake and giving his intervention here and there, and that will be the whole thing. He will not actually be benefiting from this exercise at all. So this is not in line with that natural way of reciting and listening to the Holy Quran which has been prescribed in Holy Quran.
Jazakallah. Dr. Saab, obviously we've touched upon the Tahajjud and Tarawih and also the recitation of the Holy Quran. The month of Ramadan is clearly a month in which one can obtain true nearness to one's Creator. Could you perhaps maybe express, maybe from a personal perspective, the opportunities one has to maximize benefits during this blessed month?
The opportunities are many, and what we also have to remember is the days are few, and they will pass in the blinking of an eye, and they literally do pass very, very quickly. Everybody feels that. So we have to take full use of all the opportunities that are presented to us. We have discussed the Tahajjud prayer, and that is obviously something that is of extreme importance, that we mustn't wake up just for the Sehri itself, but must wake up well in advance to be able to perform Tahajjud and to perform it diligently rather than to rush it. And of course the recitation of the Holy Quran after the Sehri or whichever time is suitable to you. You should see a pure transformation, and this is what I personally will try to see in myself as well, is that I should see a pure transformation in this Ramadan that I may have been lacking before the Ramadan started. And aspects of paying due attention to myself towards charitable donations, because charity is also linked very closely with Ramadan, and the Jamaat, the community, has always laid great emphasis upon that, because one of the practical purposes of Ramadan is for us to realize of the plight of those people who do not get 1 square meal a day, let alone 2 square meals a day. So we see for ourselves what relative poverty is, so that it makes us more charitable in that respect. And this is what we will try to do as a community and as a person, is that I will try to see a transformation, which then I will hope to connect with the next Ramadan. This is the actual benefit of Ramadan, is that whatever pure transformation we have taken place in our life, that must not be temporary, and we must not forget it as soon as we celebrate Eid. But that transformation has to be connected to the next month of Ramadan, and this is what we pray for, and we do our best to make sure that we are able to do so in that respect.
As you know that it is directed by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam that before we offer our Eid prayer, we must pay fitrana. Now in that the lesson is that one of the purpose of the month of Ramadan is that we should look after all the poor and needy people of the world. Not only just on the last day of Eid, but also during the whole month. And it is mentioned in the books of Hadith that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, although he was the most generous people among all the people of the world, but during the month he became even more generous. And during the last 10 days, even more. So this was his practice. So that means that one of the purpose of Ramadan is to make us realize the importance of our duties towards all the people who are in need. Now in one hadith it is stated that on the day of judgment, Allah the Almighty will say to some of his people that at so and so time I was hungry and you didn't give me the food. And the man will say, oh God, you are God, how you can be hungry? He said, you know, so and so person who was hungry, he came to you and asked food and you didn't give him. So when you refuse to give him food, in fact you refuse to give me food. So that means that if we help the people who are in need, in fact we will become closer to Allah the Almighty and will be able to attain the love of God Almighty. And this is one of the great lessons of the month of Ramadan.
Just adding on the same point, this very fundamental point, the benefit of Ramadan is that it inculcates the spirit of compassion and kindness and love towards those people who are underprivileged, wherever they may be. And many a time, I have been mentioning to the people here whenever I talk to the local people, mostly the Christians and others, I say that the benefit of fasting is that when you physically, practically go through this practice of fast, of abstaining the food from early morn till sunset, and some other conditions are also there. So when you're talking of the food only, if you abstain from all types of food and drink for one full day and go through this experience yourself, then actually the real meaning of hunger and thirst, it dawns upon you. Otherwise, you're simply saying that, well, we should be kind to other people, we should give some help to other people, charity and this and that, for which the British people are very good, they offer charities. That's a good thing we must appreciate. But the thing is that on the spur of the moment, making a donation is something different. But on a regular basis, taking care of those people who are without facilities, without food, without pure water, without any education and all these things, helping those people, this desire is created in the heart of the person who practically, by observing the fast, goes through that condition. And then during the day, when the food is there right in the fridge, but he doesn't take it honestly, and he says, no, I have to abstain from it to follow this discipline, then he really understands what is the plight of those people who are without food for a number of days. So that is actually something very, very important, and it goes a long way towards helping the people, the poor people, and there are so many millions of such people throughout the world. So the practice of fast goes a long way towards helping us overcoming this problem.
Jazakallah. Aside from obviously the ability to empathize with the poor as a result of the blessed month, there's also a physical purification in the fact that one must abstain from foul language and one must be kind to others, and that obviously is also a building block for the rest of the year. And it is meant to purify one and take one to the next Ramadan in the following year. So obviously there are also great benefit in the month of Ramadan through that purification process as well.
Som actually means, literally means to stop. It means putting your controls tight. You don't have to use foul language, you don't have to trespass in the territory of other people, you don't have to, injure or harm other people. And also you have to put a strong discipline on yourself regarding your foods, your drinks, your other, enjoyments, whatever you are thinking. There is a full control. And when you put this discipline upon yourself, you actually train yourself. That is self-purification, self-education, self-discipline. And a person really becomes very punctual, very regular, very disciplined if he only goes through this practice meticulously as required.
And this point is also highlighted by the Holy Quran in this way, where the commandment of fasting is given. It is said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. That the commandment of fasting is given to you so that you become muttaqi. And muttaqi means those who abstain from all kind of evil and they do all kind of good deeds.
Jazakallah Bajan Sahib. Jazakallah as the panel. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today, but inshallah I'm sure that in future programs we'll be able to cover more interesting topics. And Jazakallah to the viewers for joining us today. A reminder once again, you are welcome to and we encourage you to participate in this program and in future programs. If you would like to send us your questions, we are able to receive those questions by email. You can email us at faithmatters@mta.tv, or if you'd prefer to fax, you can fax us on the international dial +44 208 687 8037. I hope inshallah you'll be able to join us for future programs. Jazakallah and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.